We continue now at the top of Daf Chav Chesam and Beis Meseches Sukkah. This is Sukkah Daf 28b. And the previous summit, the Gemara had used Psukim and Halacha L'Moshe Misinai to teach the halacha that when it comes to Sukkahs, women are not chayiv in sitting in a Sukkah, and also to teach the halacha that when it comes to Yom Kippur, women, just like men, are chayiv in the mitzvah of Inoi, of affliction, on Yom Kippur. So the Gemara had asked, what do we need these Halacha L'Moshe Misinais or drashas for? First of all, when it comes to Sukkah, it's a mitzvah sasei shazman grama. Shouldn't it be obvious that women are pater? And when it comes to the mitzvah of Inoi and Yom Kippur, hishva hakasav isha leish lechalon shishabetorah. We have a general principle that men and women are equal when it comes to all punishments in the Torah, meaning when you have negative commandments, things that involve punishments like kares, all of these things, the halachas are the same for men and women. So again, it should be obvious that women are going to be chayiv in the mitzvah of Inoi and Yom Kippur. And so the Gemara says, Amar Abaya says, Liolam Sukkah Hilchasa. Really, Sukkah is Halacha L'Moshe Misinai, V'itzrich, and we need that Halacha L'Moshe Misinai. Because I might have thought, Teishvu Kain Taduru. The Pasuk says you have to sit in the Sukkah, and we make a drasha, you have to live there like you live in your house. Madira ish v'ishto, just like when you live in your house, it's the husband and wife together. Af sukkah ish v'ishto, so too you might think that when it comes to sukkah, the obligation is on the husband and the wife. Kamash malan, so therefore that's what the pasuk comes to teach us, or therefore that's what the halacha l'Moshe Misinai comes to teach us, that it does not apply to women at all. And Rashi over here explains, Amar Abaye liolam sukkah liftura hilchasahi, really the fact that women are pater from sukkah is a halacha l'Moshe Misinai. Di'ilu krachiyuva kamarbi de'ezrach gabrihu demashma v'hei l'rabos asanoshim. As far as psukim are concerned, we would have understood that the extra hey in Ezrach comes to include even women. Havalon l'midrash kid darshinan b'yom kippurim. We would have darshaned it that way, like we darshan on Yom Kippur. Ela sha'alach l'Moshe Misinai potarton. It's the halacha l'Moshe Misinai which says that women are pater. Udekatani ho Ezrach lahotzi asanoshim asmachta b'yalmahu. When it says the word ha Ezrach is to exclude women, that's just an asmach. That's not a real drasha. V'ikar kral l'ribuya asakid l'kamon. The real pasuk is an inclusion, like we'll say later on. Now that which you ask, what do we need a halacha l'Moshe Misinai? Don't we know they're pater because it's a mitzvah sasei shazman grama? So again, like the Gemara said, we might have thought teishvu kein taduru. And the Gemara continues, Rava says, Itzrich, we need it for the following reason. Because I might have thought, Yalev chamisha asr mechagamatzos. Maybe we learn out that it says the 15th by Sukkot, and it says the 15th by Pesach as well. We should learn out Gzera Shava. Malahala noshim chayavos, just like when it comes to the mitzvahs on Pesach, women are chayiv. Afkad noshim chayavos, so too over here by Sukkah, maybe you should say they're chayiv. Kamash malon, so that's what it comes to teach us. Again, the halacha l'Moshe Misinai comes to teach us that we do not make that limud. Rashi over here says, Rav Amar Itzrich, Mahasam Nashim Chayavos Ba'achilas Matzah. What we're talking about on Pesach is we're talking about the fact that women are chayiv in the mitzvah of eating matzah. V'yafal gav the matzah mitzvah sasei shazman grama. Now, even though matzah is also a mitzvah sasei shazman grama, it's a time-bound positive commandment. The nafka kid Rabbi Lozer b'psachim shenemar lo sochel olav chametz shebas yamim tochal matzos. It compares chametz to matzah. Kol sheyeshno b'bal tochal chametz yeshno b'kol mechol matzah. Anyone who's not allowed to eat chametz is also has to eat matzah. V'nashim yeshnon b'mitzvos lo sasei dahainu achilas chametz. And of course, women, they're not allowed to have chametz on Pesach. That's a negative commandment, it's a lo sasei. So therefore, again, there's a limud that they are chayiv in eating matzah. And so the Gemara continues, V'hashta da'amrit sukkah hilchas. And now that you're saying that sukkah really is a halacha l'Moshe Misinai, so kra lamali. So what do we actually use the pasuk for? So the Gemara says, L'rabos es ha'geirim. It comes to include that even geirim are chayiv to sit in the sukkah. Sal kadai t'chamina, because I might have thought ha'ezrich b'Yisrael amar achmona. It says the citizens of Israel are chayiv in sukkah. V'lo es ha'geirim. I might have thought to exclude the geirim. Kamash malon, it comes to teach us that even geirim are chayiv in the mitzvah of Sukkah. And the Gemara says, Yom Kippurim, either Rav Yehuda Marav Nafka. Again, like we said before, isn't Yom Kippur learned from Rav Yehuda Marav? Why do we need the pasuk at all? Didn't we just say that women are chayiv in all negative commandments? So the Gemara says, Lo nitzrucha ela l'tosefes inoi. The chiddush over here is that women are even obligated in adding on, starting the inoi a little early. You're supposed to start Yom Kippur a little early, start the affliction a little early. Sal kadai t'chamina, I might have thought, Hol amir rachmana l'tosefes inoi me'onesh u'me'azhar. I might have thought, since when it comes to this issue of adding on to the inoi, there's no punishment, there's no warning. So lo neschayvu nashim klal. Maybe women are not chayiv in that part at all. Kamash malon. So that's what the pasuk comes to teach us. Pasuk comes to teach us they're chayiv in the tosefes inoi as well. And Rashi over here says, "V'hashtu damer sukkah leftura hilchasi v'lavni mashmusa de'ilu hey dekra ribuyahi." Now you're saying that really the hey is actually an inclusion. So kra lamali kalamar amayasa hey the sukkah. What is it coming to include? L'rabos es hagerim. It comes to include the gerim shechayavim b'sukkah. Even the gerim are chayav in the mitzvah of sukkah. And then we said, Midrav Yehuda Nafka V'lamali Kra Hey Doha Ezrach L'Ribuya Nashim L'Inoi. Why do we need an extra letter, the letter Hey, to include women? If anyway they're included in all negative commandments. And so the Gemara answered L'Tosefes for this idea of adding on. Shehitzrach HaKosav L'Haschil L'Sanos Mivod Yom. Halach is you need to begin fasting a little before Yom Kippur. You need to add on to Yom Kippur. Ho Lumiat Kra Milav V'Karis Tichsiv V'Inoi Betzim HaYom Hazeh Alatzmo Shel Yom Anish Karis V'Eno Anish Karis Al Tosefes. Even though you're supposed to add on and fast starting a little before Yom Kippur, you don't get kares. There's no punishment for that if you don't do it. But there's no real azhar. There's no warning in the Torah for that. So I might think that women are not included in this idea of tosefes inoi, and so that's where the pasuk is coming. The pasuk is coming to say again that women are chayiv in that as well. And the Gemara continues, Amar Mar, the master said, we said before, Kol l'rabos es hakatanim. It said the word Kol comes to include katanim. Even minors are obligated in the mitzvah of Sukkah. So the Gemara says, Vatanan, but then we learn in our Mishnah, Nashim ve'avodim u'katanim petur min ha-Sukkah. It says women, servants, and minors are patur from Sukkah, an exact contradiction to what you said before. And so the Gemara says, Lo kasha is not difficult. Kan bekatan shegiya l'chinuch, kan bekatan shelo yagiya l'chinuch. If you have a katan that reaches the age of chinuch when you're trying to teach him to do the mitzvah, so the Rashi says it means misha'eno tzarech l'imo. He's old enough that he doesn't need his mother, so then that katan is obligated in Sukkah. But if it's a katan that hasn't reached the age of chinuch, he's not obligated in Sukkah. So the Gemara says, what are you talking about? Katan shegiya l'chinuch midrabanan. A katan reaches chinuch, that's not a doraisa, that's only a din d'Rabbanan. You seem to be saying on the previous summer that it was a din doraisa. The Gemara says you're right, midrabanan. It's only halacha midrabanan. Ukra asmachta b'yalmahu. The kra is just an asmachta. It's not really being learned from the pasuk. It is just a hint to this idea. Rashi over here says asmachta b'yalma ninu ukra l'Rebbi Eliezer k'd islay l'rabos gerish and iskari ben tayim v'katan shagadal de'osem sukkah b'chol shel moed. So what do we do with the pasuk? Pasuk is actually used according to Rabbi Eliezer. We said before we use this very same pasuk for, let's say, someone converts in the middle of Sukkot. So then Rabbi Eliezer holds this pasuk teaches you that even in the middle of Sukkot that person should build a sukkah. Same thing if a katan becomes mature in the middle of Sukkot, Masha'in Kain, Shari Yisrael, Osin, by other Jews who were obligated the entire sukkah. We said, according to Rabbi Eliezer, it has to be a sukkah for all 7 days. They wouldn't according to the Rabbanan, they're going to use this pasuk for the idea that everyone should, at least in theory, be able to sit in one sukkah, meaning even a borrowed sukkah is okay. This is what we said previously already. So that's what really the pasuk is used for. And over here, when the Gemara brings a pasuk to say that a katan higia l'chinuch is chayiv in sukkah, that's just an asmachta. And the Gemara continues that the two dots, quoting the Mishnah, katan sheino tzarech limo v'chulu. It said if you have a katan again who doesn't need his mother, then he's going to be obligated. And the Gemara says, heichi dami katan sheino tzarech limo. What is considered a katan that doesn't need his mother? And the Gemara continues, Amri devei Rabbi Yanai. They answer in the yeshiva of Rabbi Yanai, kol shenifne ve'inimu mekanchaso. Any child who goes to the bathroom, he doesn't need his mother to wipe him, to clean him up, that's going to be considered a katan that doesn't need his mother. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish over, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says, Kol shener mishnaso v'eino kore ima. Any child that wakes up and doesn't call for his mother, that's already a katan that doesn't need his mother. So the Gemara says, Gedolim nami karu. Even older children are going to call their mother. Ela kol shener v'eino kore ima ima. Rather, what it means is any child that wakes up and doesn't call over and over again for his mother, for the mother to come, that's already enot tzarech l'imo. Most children who are older, they might call for the mother, but if the mother doesn't come right away, they're going to be quiet. That's already called enot tzarech l'imo, that he doesn't need his mother. And the Gemara continues with the two dots. Ma'asav yolda kaloso v'chulo. It said at the end of the Mishnah that there was a story with a daughter-in-law of Shammai that she gave birth to a child, and they were machmir to have that child sit in a sukkah. So the Gemara says, Ma'isa Lister, you're bringing a story to contradict what you just said. You just said before that katanim are not obligated. So the Gemara says, there are words missing in the Mishnah. Here's how it should read. V'shamai machmir, Shammai is strict. U'ma'isa nami v'yolda kaloso shel Shammai hazaken, u'piches es hamaziva v'zika chalamita b'shvil hakatan. There was even a story where the daughter-in-law of Shammai hazaken gave birth. They opened up the roof and they put schach on top for the katan to be yotzei the mitzvah. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Kol shivas hayamim, all 7 days of Sukkot, Adamos has Sukkah, so kevo beiso raya. A person should make his Sukkah his permanent dwelling place, and he should make his house his temporary dwelling place. Yardu geshavim, now if it rains, me'emasai mutter lefanos, at what point is the person allowed to leave the sukkah? Mishatisrach hamikfet, from the point where the congealed dish, where it starts to spoil from the rain, where the food starts to spoil, that's when the person can leave the sukkah. Mashlu mashal lemahadavardomer, they said a mashal, what is it comparable to when it rains on sukkahs? Le'evet shava limzo kos l'rabu, it's similar to a servant who comes to pour a cup of wine for his master, v'shafach lo kiton al panav, and the master, he pours water in his face. And Rashi over here says, "V'shafach lo kiton shel mayim al panav v'gemar mefarash mi shafach lemi." The Gemara is actually going to ask and explain exactly who is pouring water in whose face. In any case, the Gemara says, "Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Kol shivas hayamim, all 7 days of Sukkot, Adam Moses Sukkah Sokeva ubeiso arai." A person makes his sukkah his main dwelling place, and he makes his house his temporary dwelling place. Keitzad house. So hayu lo kelim noy mal in the sukkah. A person has nice utensils, he should bring them to the sukkah. Mitzos, no, so if a person has nice bedding, ma'al in the sukkah, he should bring it to the sukkah. Ochel v'shos, a mitayel b'sukkah, a person should eat, a person should drink, a person should relax in the sukkah. The Gemara says, Menohani Mili, what's the source for this idea? The Tana Rabban and the rabbis taught, Teshvu Kain Taduru, it says you should dwell in the sukkah, and we darshan similar to the way you live in your house. Mikan Amru, from here they say, Kol Shivas Hayamim Osa Adam Sukkah Sokeva, Ubeiso Arai, all 7 days of Sukkot, a person should make his sukkah his permanent dwelling place, and his house should be his temporary. Keitzad house, so Hayolo Kalim Nam, a person has nice utensils, Ma'alin L'Sukkah, he should bring them to the sukkah. Mitzos, no, if a person has nice bedding, Ma'alin L'Sukkah, he should bring it to the sukkah. Ochel v'shosam and tile b'sukkah, the person should eat, should drink, should relax in the sukkah. U'mishanan b'sukkah, and also the person should learn Torah in the sukkah. Rashi over here says, U'mishanan b'sukkah sover limuda mechatzcho al buryav lamod, meaning he should go over his sukkah and learn it well. Tahainu shmaita damorai usvara shel tamei mishnah u'braisa ma'atam zechayev zepater ze'aser ze'mutter. Go over the reasonings of the Amoraim, why various things are chayev, pater, aser, mutter, etc. Person should learn in the sukkah. So the Gemara says, Ini, is that really true? V'yama Rava Barava said, Mikro misna b'metalalasa. When it comes to Psukim, when it comes to studying Mishnayos, that should be in the Sukkah. V'tane, but when it comes to learning deeper, meaning to learn Shas, to learn the reasons of the halachas, B'ami metalalasa, you should do it outside of the Sukkah. Seems to be a direct contradiction to what we just said. The Gemara says, Lokash, it's not difficult. Ha b'migras, ha b'yune. It depends if you're going over it, just kind of learning it over, or you're actually analyzing it. Rashi over here says, B'ami metalalasa mirza de mitztayerhu, u'mitztayer pater misukah. What Rava means to say is that it's difficult to learn, to analyze, and a person who has difficulty is pater from sukkah. And the air is good in order to make a person's mind settle. Gemara thinks Tano is the same as Meshanin. It seems to be a contradiction. In one place it says if the person wants to, and a person's mitzdayer, he learn this stuff outside the sukkah. We said before, Meshanin, the person should learn in the sukkah. And the Gemara answers, there are two kinds of shinun. Let's say you have Gemara, meaning the reasons for the halachas, but you already know them, and you're just going over it. That already you should do in the sukkah. That's already Meshanin. That you should do in the sukkah because that's not difficult. But if you're going to go analyze things that you don't already, that's not already clear to you, so that you should do outside the sukkah. And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Chavtes Amud Aleph.